I think if there's any one person right now that needs to do this pantry challenge, it is me. Hey garden friends, welcome to Not Quite Homesteading, ESK Garden channel. So today I'm going to be talking about a pantry challenge that I'm planning to participate in from a gardening perspective. And the challenge is hosted by Three Rivers Homestead channel, and I came across it through a YouTuber that I watch here in the gardening space, Faith Family Homestead. So the challenge is something that Three Rivers Homestead does, I guess, every year, January and February, where the goal is to use up as much of the food that they've canned throughout the year from the gardening season and to ensure readiness for like the upcoming garden season. I am a fairly new gardener. I have not personally canned things on my own. However, I am someone that is an avid believer in having a fully stocked pantry, freezer, all that good stuff. And what I am attempting to do through my personal participation in this challenge is to clear out my freezers, my pantry, my cabinets as best I can, so that I can prepare to be able to preserve and can my own foods for the 2023 gardening season. This will be my first spring summer garden. I do intend to plant quite a bit of stuff, but I also want to make sure that I actually have room to save the things that I'm putting all my hard work into to fruit. So I am going to be participating in that challenge for that reason, as well as it'll give me an opportunity to kind of cut down on the amount of money that I'm spending on groceries monthly to actually be able to invest in the things that I need for the garden. So while it is an attempt to save money in one respect, I'm not really saving money because I'm using the grocery budget to get the things that I need ready for the garden. Now, where I am at, I am in zone 8B. I'm in coastal South Carolina, and if I'm being very honest, I don't think I have a lot of time to plan for me to get started for 2023. We are in January right now. It is January 4th. Our current temperature is about 72 degrees. The high for today was 76. The trends that I'm seeing is that we are not slated to have another frost, at least from now through mid-February. And the daytime temperatures are really kind of level around like 50s, 60s throughout that entire time. Now, I do know that those things can change, and I'm fully open to that. But my personal belief, based on the way our weather has been trending, is that we are going to be ready to start our spring gardening season by the end of February. That's what I've seen, I think, in the last 2 years. And I don't anticipate that this year will be any different. So for that reason, I am really focusing diligently on planning the garden. I want to start getting seeds planted definitely at some point in February. I do think the temperatures will be warm enough where the soil will be warm enough for even those warmer plants that need that 6-week head start indoor for me to be able to direct sow them. So I have a huge challenge ahead of me because we do have a lot of stuff here. It is only 2 of us. We are a family of 2. It's just me and my husband right now. And I like stocking. I like stocking for a few reasons. One, I'm always in the mindset of being prepared for an emergency. And when I say that, what I really mean is it's not about the food shortages, the supply chain issues that we've been having and seeing for the last few years. It really isn't about that. I've always been of the mind that I want to be in a space where should anything happen work-wise, life-wise, that is out of our control, where we may not be able to purchase something for a month or 2 or even 3, if we have to kind of juggle between, certain things, that we would never worry about being food insecure. I've been in that space before. It is not a fun place to be, but since then, I've definitely been extremely diligent about ensuring that we always have food on hand. The second, the second reason that I think this will be good for us too is, right now grocery prices are extremely high. And I am seeing things such as eggs increasing in price at least every 2 weeks. This is not something where it's like, hey, it's January, we're experiencing a little bit of a food price increase, and then, come maybe spring, summer, for some other reason, there's another increase. I'm seeing prices literally increase every 2 weeks. And, I will preface with, we are very fortunate. I have a pretty significant food budget that I tend to operate from. I do like a certain level of quality in the food choices that I make, and my husband makes provision for that with the budgeting that we do. Now, even for someone who may not be necessarily strained in terms of food budgeting, I feel that grocery prices are still just way too high. I find it hard to even sometimes justify some of my normal purchases because I just don't want to pay those prices. I don't think we should have to pay those prices. Food should really be accessible. I understand that everybody, from the grower to the seller, has to make money, has to have a livable wage, but I do not agree with the idea that food should be so high priced that we're on the verge of, I think, wasting more food than we already do as a country because people just simply are not buying the way they used to because the prices are too high. And two, that people should have to kind of determine if they're going to eat or pay a bill. And I just don't think we should ever be at that place where someone has to sacrifice food security to be able to just have a roof over their head. And I know that that's something that we've battled with for a long time here in the US, but I do think we're going to see unprecedented levels of these kinds of things happening across the country. I think it's more mindfulness on my part, right? That yes, because I may be able to in this moment doesn't mean that things cannot change in the future. So I am super conscious of that. I am super diligent about what I'm doing right now to set up the garden in a way that I can really get a lot of the vegetables, produce, fruits, those things off of my grocery bill, because those are in large part the things that I spend the most money on. That is what I typically go to the grocery store for. Things like meats and grains, I typically will buy those things in bulk from different places. And when I'm doing grocery shopping, it's usually for things that have much shorter shelf lives. And those things just keep going up in price. So I am doing this pantry challenge to get rid of as much as I can over the next 2 months and open up space for the 2023 preservation season. The other piece is I just want a break from paying for all of these things and, going into the grocery store and being stressed over prices for food every 2 weeks. I just need a break. My pockets need a break. So I am fortunate right now to be able to use that money to invest in the things I need for the garden. But what I wanted to do today was just kind of take you guys through a quick look of how my freezers are looking, how my pantry is looking, how my cabinets are looking, and I guess solicit some encouragement during this process, but also some accountability for myself to make sure that I kind of stick to the goal and really stay focused on what it is I'm trying to achieve. Now, I like variety. Variety is the spice of life. We all know that. But variety is also kind of like the source of pain. And when you have too much variety, it definitely can set you back a bit. So some of the things that I'm going to be showing you guys, very sad to say that I'm pretty sure they are past their prime, have expired sometime in the last few months, and or are coming up on those expiration dates. So those are going to be things that I'm going to be prioritizing, putting them at the forefront of this challenge and trying to get through them. I would not feed them to anybody else, but for me and my husband, it will be fine, I'm sure. I do have a lot of things that I put into like my freezers and such that, that's kind of my way of preserving things that I make on my own. So little like sauces, like homemade marinara. I have like sofritos, little bits of extra food. We'll throw them in the freezer and then they'll end up getting buried and kind of getting lost. I also do things where I'll cook extra food, right, when I'm making certain things, and that way they're ready and there for us to be able to just kind of grab if I truly don't feel like cooking. I'm the primary cook in my house, even though my husband will step up to help me. It is not often that he does that. He's not like, the strongest cook. He can cook. He'll follow my recipes, no problem. But, he is working all day. And I just, in fairness, I think that if I'm here, I'm not necessarily working full time. I do have like my own self-employment stuff going on, but it's not at a place that it's keeping me like, so busy that I just can't do anything. So I don't bother him with that stuff as much unless I'm just really like, hey, I really, really don't feel like it today. Do you mind like just throwing something together? And he will do that, no problem. So let's get into what I have going on so you guys can see what it is I'm trying to move through. And if I'm being totally honest, I probably will end up doing this challenge through March. And I say that because for it to be just two of us, and for someone like me who likes variety, I have zero problems with leftovers. However, I do prefer a change in taste and, switch ups for my palate, maybe like every 2 days. So what that ends up doing is, in most cases, I do try to make foods that will either last just that day or for 2 days exactly. However, it doesn't always work out like that. So we end up putting things up and then I'll make something new, or it forces us to be in a space where we have to have, a bunch of different things on hand in order to satisfy those cravings. Now, I will say I do have a kind of weekend kitchen operation, catering, and meal prep that I'm working on building. And I do go out and I sell my sell food products and things like that. So there are a lot of things that I typically keep on hand that, someone might not have for a traditional kitchen, and that's okay. But I am selling food too. So there are things that I do keep here. And while I do try to keep those things separate for both like the business and my house, I try not to intermingle those things. I do have some products that I might buy in like a bulk situation, or things that I might not be using frequently here, and then I'll kind of like separate them out. I'll use what I'm going to use for the business, and then I'll use what I'll use for us. So there are some things that kind of like, even though they are purchased with the intention of splitting, I don't split them unless I need, to actually use them. Let's go ahead and get into this. These videos will be bonus videos in addition to my 2 gardening videos a week that I've been doing and I will continue to do. They will be bonus videos throughout the time that I am participating in this pantry challenge. So you guys will get extra content from me within that space. I hope that you enjoy this particular content. And, as we move into preservation season, there will be more semi-cook stuff on this channel. If you are into recipes and like creative like combinations and that kind of stuff, I actually do have a food channel that I will link down below. That way you can have actual like formal videos of cooking and recipes and that kind of stuff. So the channels are different, and the way that I will be showcasing food on this channel is different than what I do over there. But there will be some preservation stuff coming up in the fall, not in the fall, excuse me, in the spring as well, as the garden starts to thrive. So I just wanted to share that. I think I'm going to start with my cabinets. We'll work our way to the freezers, and then I'll finish up with this pantry over here. So this is my primary food cabinet, and you can see that that goes up pretty high. I have a pretty decent system going on here, but I have not purchased more food containers, so you guys can see that those things up top, which are mostly like my baking things, those are kind of like in the store packaging, which I kind of want to move away from. I think for things like these freeze-dried cherries and raisins and such, those things I'm going to continue with in mason jars. It just started pouring, so I had to like close the door. But yeah, basically, so all these things here, these are like my rices and pastas, and I do want to move through like these rices. The jasmine rice is the thing I use the most of, so this is fairly new, but some of my other rices, even though they're fine, they're perfectly fine. Like my basmati rice, I have brown basmati rice and brown jasmine rice back there. I kind of want to move through some of those things because I don't use them as frequently as I use the regular jasmine white rice. I have some Carolina rice, which this is my preferred brand for like regular white rice, and I cannot find it where I am now. It seems like they're not really even selling it that much anymore. So the Thai jasmine rice has become like my new go-to, but I do need to finish that up because I've had that for quite some time, and that's about all that's left. I have some quinoa in here, a few different types of quinoa. I have all different types of pasta. And while these things are not like aged or anything, I'm pretty sure I just replaced most of my pastas in like the last 3 months or so. You know, anything that's open, we want to try to go through as much of that as possible. And then we'll do like, you know, our restock closer to the fall when that season comes in. That's typically when I do my major like grain shops and such. So up on this second shelf, you guys can see like a lot of beans, a lot of lentils, and then some of like my little baking things here that start. I have some ramen noodles. These are new, so I'm not even worried about those. But things like this, like these lentils, the farro, these things have been here quite some time. I haven't even used these, and I've had these for a long time. I want to. I heard they're a really good grain to use. You can pretty much use them in soups. You can use them like an oatmeal substitute. If you do have like recipe suggestions, please share that with me. But I want to get more like hearty greens and things in our diet. So, you know, this is something I was like, oh, well, I'll give this a try. Lentils we enjoy. We eat them. We definitely don't eat them as often as we should, but we do eat them. All of my dried beans, I've had these for a little bit. I'm not worried about them again because they're dried beans, but they're also in airtight containers, so it's nothing going on there. Something like this. This needs to go. Now, I don't know as much about super grain pastas, but you can see that this expired in February of 2021. Like, tell me your thoughts on this. Would you use this? You know, is this something you would eat at this point? Because now we're, you know, approaching like 2 years. I've been hesitant to throw it out. I've been saying I was going to use it, but like, I don't know if I actually should. I'm going to be using up dried like beans. I want to use these a little bit more. I will be honest, I don't go to these as much as I might go to the canned beans, but it really isn't a deterrent per se because I do have an Instant Pot, so I can cook these things rather quickly. And quite a few of these beans, truthfully, like the black eyed peas, the cowpeas, like small red beans, those things don't even need to soak. You can literally boil these for an hour, set them aside for another hour, and then cook with them and you'll be fine. In the back, I have like some panko breadcrumbs, and I have a 25-pound bag of panko breadcrumbs from like a kitchen that I used to run and cook out of that I had to bring here when I left that space, and we haven't even gotten to use that yet. So, you know, we are definitely set on panko breadcrumbs. On this shelf, I do have a lot of quick rices. Now, when I bought these quick rices, this was just a few months ago, And I wanted to get like some backup things, quick things that I could make in the event that I didn't feel like doing a lot of cooking. So that's what's up there. And I think I just bought way too many for 2 people because I don't use them that often, at least not like I used to. I have another bag of basmati rice that is unopened but has also been here for quite some time. I just purchased these during the holiday season, so those are fairly new. I'm not really worried about those. Some extra packs of lentils because I swore by the fact that I would be making lentils way more often than I actually do. But as we move into just kind of like the healthier eating with the garden, we definitely will be doing that. I have this pack of spicy jollof seasoned rice mix that is, again, wait a second. Why did I think this was expired? I definitely thought this was expired, you guys. So this is August of 2023. So this is actually good. Oh, I was so worried about that. That made me feel good. But it definitely needs to be used up because I've had that for a while as well. And then like some of these packs of instant potatoes, again, just another, you know, kind of saving grace for myself when I don't feel like cooking. I have some cake mixes up here and brownie boxes. Now, I do like to make my desserts from scratch. However, you know, sometimes you just need a little help. So I just bought those during the holiday season while those were on sale. A couple of Jello packs that I use for desserts. Sometimes, you know, I have like all my baking stuff back here. And then I have these things, which I just bought this year as well, a few months ago. So some dragon fruit, golden raisins, cherries, and black currant. So these things I'm not really worried about as much either. Up top, you guys can see I have some more baking stuff, some cake flour, my Crisco. Now I know for a fact these things I think I need to replace. This is potato starch, which I typically only use when I'm doing like Asian cooking. Yeah, this one says January 2022. Now I'm a little hesitant to throw it out for the simple fact that I do keep it bagged, and you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And then I have some almond flour here that I have just really not used, and I know that this is probably past its prime too. So this is August 2021. And let me know your thoughts on whether you would use that or not. I have some like extra bags of like chocolate chips and chunks up there that I purchased the last time I went to Trader Joe's, which at this point is about a year ago. I have extra noodles and boxes of pasta. So I just want to make sure that I'm getting through some of these things to clear us out for, you know, when I do my seasonal, my full season shop for like greens and pastas and things. I try not to buy those things a lot throughout the year because, you know, I make a habit of getting quite a bit of it during the fall, which is comfort food season. And then I just try to work through it from there. But in this cabinet, you guys can see, and it's a little dark over here, I have things like my nuts and containers. Now, I have been a little bit more diligent about trying to use some of these things up. I will say the one thing in here that does just need to go out are the hazelnuts. When I went through and purchased all my nuts from Trader Joe's a year ago, I kind of like FIFO'd them, so I know that the ones that were in there before that are pretty much gone for the most part. But I did not buy new hazelnuts, and those have been there for like probably like 3 years now, so those do need to go. On this side, I have things like dried cranberries, chia seeds, and dried blueberries that need to be used. And while they are fresh, you know, it's easy to kind of let those things just sit there and go bad. And then here we are in my garage. So this is where I've been kind of keeping like my extra fruits and onions and potatoes and such, because it's been basically like the perfect weather for us to be able to store these away without them going bad. So I have some oranges here, some apples, both that need to be used. I've had them probably for about a month now. Same with this butternut squash. And then on this side, I have some sweet potatoes that I think they're doing okay. These were inside my kitchen for a while, and I lost quite a few of them for leaving them in there. I bought these around Thanksgiving. I transferred these here about 3 weeks ago, and now they're doing really, really well. Maybe not 3 weeks ago, maybe like 2 weeks ago. But they're still nice and firm. They haven't done anything. They've been in the perfect like conditions to just kind of stay in storage. I have some squashes here that I bought a few weeks ago, as well as some potatoes. We have some onions, a bag of mandarins, which we've been going through this, so these are fine. But we've definitely been eating those, and I just want to get through them. And then some limes and some onions here. So these are things that I try not to lose sight of while I'm in here. I try not to lose sight of them while I'm cooking. And then we have a freezer, which is jam-packed with things you would find in like a commercial kitchen. Like I said, I ran a kitchen, and while I sold like quite a bit of stuff, when I decided to move on from that relationship, I did not want the stuff that I had paid for to go to waste. So this is a freezer full of these kinds of things: onion rings, mozzarella sticks, french fries, tortillas. This we just put in here, so that's fairly new. And jalapeno poppers that, while we don't eat these things a lot, we are consciously eating them, when we want like fast food nights and that kind of stuff, to be able to not waste the food. So this is one of my freezers in the kitchen. Now I have 3 deep freezers in the kitchen and then 1 in the garage. And I had one, oh no, my plant fell over. I had one, and then like I said, when I moved on from that kitchen experience, I ended up purchasing 3 more because I didn't want the food to go to waste. Now I'm not going to go through this freezer in detail, but there are a lot of things like this in here. So I have a chili adobo, and you can see it's gotten a little bit of freezer burn. The marinara that I have left over that I made earlier this year that needs to be used up. Things like frozen cilantro, little things like containers of rice, tortilla dough, all that good stuff. And there's a lot of these kinds of things down here that really need to be used up. I have like my sofrito sauces, my broth. I have frozen cotija cheese, like queso cheese. So I'm really good for like throwing things like this in like freezers. And then the bad thing is I kind of forget about a lot of it. Thyme, like I have a barbecue pork broth, so that was like from some barbecue pork that I had slow cooked or something. I have like broth, chicken, shrimp, all that good stuff. Things like ginger and turmeric up in here. But basically my goal is to get through all of these things that are in this freezer, or at least quite a few of them in the next 2 months. And because it is so much, it is a lot more than it actually seems like in the freezer. My thinking is I probably will have to do this maybe even into like March or April. So this is the second freezer like this. I believe these are both like 5 cubic feet freezers, and in this one we have things like quick food, foods that we are, foods that I make, and it's like, okay, we know we're not going to eat this 4 or 5 days in a row. So I just made this lasagna on the 2nd, and things like lasagna, I don't make those in small quantities, so we almost always end up having to freeze some of this, which is fine because it comes in great for like comes in handy for like lunches and things like that, or dinners when I don't feel like cooking. On this side we just have a lot of things like this that are quick foods, or like I said, more frozen white rices, or I have some like frozen peas and rices and pumpkin rices in here. But it's basically a lot of these things on this side. I have some bread, like, obviously it's just 2 of us. Anytime we buy a pack of bread, we just cannot get through it quickly enough before it goes bad. I had made some like pies to sell for like Thanksgiving. So I have extra peach cobbler filling in here, as well as a couple of pies that did not sell, but I didn't want to throw them away. This is where we keep all of our frozen veggies on this side, as well as anything, like that ends up getting stored, like biscuits and such, for us to be able to use. We have the open like fast food stuff that we keep in here. So there's french fries in here, like jalapeno poppers and mozzarella sticks as well. We only keep what we use of those things. Oh no, gotta get that closed back. And then in my third freezer over here where I'm like drying dishes on top because my dish drain was full, so in this freezer, this is kind of where we keep all of our meats. Now my goal is to try to keep all of my like frozen meats contained to this one freezer without having to kind of have them spill over into any of the other freezers, because each freezer kind of has its purpose at this point. But you'll see like I have all of my ground meats up top. I have frozen like cheeses, extra butter, like those kinds of things. I have more marinara sauce that I actually just made recently. And then I made the lasagna and I froze whatever ricotta was left because I probably won't use ricotta again for just a little bit. Underneath, you guys can see that meats are here. So I have like pork, chicken, seafood, all of that good stuff, all in this freezer. One of the things I do want to do is get some freezer organizers pretty soon to at least try to help contain things, especially things like, you know, small things like this that can really benefit from just being stacked in like one place, similar to how they are up here. I have some extra cupcakes because we made a box cake mix and we ended up doing cupcakes, and you know, we can only eat cupcakes but for so many days. So, you know, that's kind of the challenge of when you're a family of two and you crave stuff, you end up with way extras just like this. Like there's no way I'm eating cupcakes for a whole week. I'm just not going to do it. And then you guys can see there are like there are salmon patties and more pies down there. I have some meats on this side. These meats are the meats that I really need to use up first, so I put them on this side. All this stuff is pretty fresh, like things that I've just gotten in, and you know, things that are still within their suggested shelf life. And then in my refrigerator freezer, please don't judge this. This is where I try to keep pretty much like all of our breakfast stuff. But of course, there is overflow of other things in here too. At the bottom is where I kind of keep all of my frozen fruits. And we have this in quite of abundance. So I need to move through those frozen fruits. You know, we just got waffles, bagels, those kinds of things, sausages and bacon. I have hash browns in bulk quantity as well. And then for the pies that I ended up not even making for the event that I did for the Thanksgiving pies, I just threw them in here because, again, I refuse to waste my pies. I make those things from scratch, my pie crust included. So it was important to me to just kind of keep those and not waste them. And last but not least, this is my kitchen pantry. So you guys can see there is quite a bit of stuff up top. So up top, you guys can see we have a ton of snacks up here and cereal. That's what we kind of keep up here. And, you know, I'm really good about staying on top of these things and what needs to get used. So I'm not worried about that. There are a lot of things that I go through, you know, quite frequently. I have backup flours up here, so you guys can see I have like bread flour, all-purpose, self-rising flour, and then like extra sugars and things, which I try not to necessarily keep a ton of those because I really want to try to keep things to like these containers. But sometimes, and especially when your intention is to really only eat at home, you got to have a little bit of extra of the things that are going to help you get by. These are all like specialty items. Like I said, because I do a lot of like cooking, you know, I have things that most people probably wouldn't have in their house. Strawberry powder, freeze-dried strawberries, you know, black garlic, and a bunch of other just like specialty items. So, you know, making sure that I'm going through those things. I have a lot of whole seasonings up here as well. You know, I'm really big on moving forward, like once I'm done with all of my dry seasonings, I guess you can say that I purchased ready ground to be able to like grind my own seasonings. I actually have a spice grinder that I purchased recently to be able to grind spices fresh, which is really nice, and it makes a huge difference in the flavor. Even though my spices right now, I just did a full sweep out of those about like 4 or 5 months ago, and they are fresh. Most of them I've bought this year, so I'm not worried about the quality of those right now, but there definitely is still a difference between grinding them fresh and even the ones that I just purchased. I have grains back here that, you know, I need to get through, especially like this stuff. This came from my kitchen, but then I also have regular like old-fashioned grits, which I really prefer over quick grits, but I just don't want to waste these, and I have that in another box up there. I have like my hot cereals that I love, cornmeal, all that good stuff. These are all my baking things. I'm not so concerned about those because I do use those quite frequently, and the turnover on those is almost, you know, every like few months, so I'm not really worried about that. On this side, I have beans that I really want to get through in the cans. Now, these are totally fine. So if I don't get through them, it's no rush, you know, to get through them in the next 2 months. But I do want to just kind of put a little bit of attention on these so that, you know, like I said, once the gardening season is underway, I can begin to can my own beans. I have so many bags of dried beans that I purchased this year. And, you know, the goal is to be able to can some of them. I will keep some of them in the dry state because I have no problem cooking the beans from dry. But this is what I have, some, you know, different bean varieties. These are things that I just keep on hand. So I'm not necessarily worried about going through things like my condensed milk, my coconut milk, or my pumpkin puree. These are things that are virtually just new and were purchased recently. I am in need of using up this evaporated milk here. This I've had since early 2022. It actually just passed its you know, Best Buy date at the end of December, so I'm not going to throw it out. It's totally fine, but I just want to make sure that I am intentional about using that. These things are pretty much new, so I'm not really worried about this. These are like my, you know, kind of Asian vegetables, canned vegetables and things that I like to use in my Thai curry and, you know, Asian cooking. This chili onion crisp, this is a little past its prime. I'm still using it, but, you know, I don't know. I probably should just go ahead and throw this out for the simple fact that it is an oil, because they can be create an aerobic environment. You know, those can actually go rancid. I do have some enchilada sauces that I'm pretty certain are way past their prime. I might have to evaluate whether I'm going to use some of those. I think that can said 2020. I don't think all of them are that old, but that's going to have to be a judgment call when I open it. You know, if I lose a can or two, yes, shame on me, but I'm also not going to stress myself out over it. I have plenty of dried peppers and such that I can go ahead and make enchilada sauce. I have some pestos back here, some Thai chili sauces, which these things, oops, sorry guys, these things like these quick ready sauces, these are things that I do not like. I like to have them, but for some reason I just don't I forget about them when it's time to cook. So these all are pretty much past their prime and they need to be used. Now they did, you know, reach their best by sometime in the last like few months. So, you know, I'm not concerned as far as like, oh my God, you know, should I even eat them? And of course, always judge with your sight and nose, you know, when you open stuff. So I'm sure they'll be fine. And then I have like all of my peppers, which I probably need to store those in a different manner because I've had some of them for a while. Some of them are fresh, but you know, they'll be better. They'll be better and last longer if I go ahead and throw them in the freezer. And I have things like cookie butter in here, and that is something also that is kind of past its prime. But, you know, I'm trying to figure out if I should go ahead and use it. Down here, I have more things like canned vegetables, and some of these things I bought around the time of the pandemic and we're still going through them. For instance, like some of these corns, and then some I have bought recently, kind of in the same mindset of, you know, when I bought those quick rices and such. where it's just like, all right, if I'm planning for the next year, let's make sure we have some things, you know, it's kind of doing, like I said, more preparation pantry stuff than it was like, oh, I'm gonna buy this to eat it. So I am working my way through those things as well. I have more condiment sauces over here, things that, you know, I wanted to try from like Trader Joe's and such. You know, garlic, achar, I have peri sauce, things that do really need to be used up. Mango chutney, all of that good stuff. And then I have some beef broth back there that is for my husband. You know, I don't eat red meat, he does. So as such, we don't make red meat very often here. But I do try to buy him things that, you know, if he wanted to make like a super stew or something, that he could do that. I have a couple of cans of fruit over here that need to be used up, and you know, some dressings that need to go out. And then on the bottom, I have a lot of tomato products, some additional grits, and Miracle Whip that I'm sure is past its prime as well. I have all of my little packet like gravies and taco seasonings, which, to be honest, I use the vegetarian brown gravy, but I don't use taco seasoning as often because, for one, I just don't do a ton of ground beef tacos, but more importantly, I do make my own taco sauce. So that is like something I like to keep for quick things, but I do make my own tacos, so I don't, you know, go through it as quickly as I could. And then back here, I do have some more things like packet ranch and au jus gravy, which the au jus gravy I'm probably going to go ahead and get rid of because, like I said, we don't use that. Yeah, so we don't use this, and it's just kind of like sitting here. The ranch, I'm like, I can use this even though I make my own ranch and I really prefer mine. I find this to be way too salty. I will probably go ahead and just use those. Now, are we going to get through those in 2 months? No, we absolutely are not. I do have some flowers down here, and then some tuna that I need to get through, and then of course I keep my like onions and such inside the pantry. Now on the bottom, you guys will see a lot more like commercial size stuff, and these are just like, you know, extra sauces and things, again, that I have from like the kitchen, oils and stuff. I do make like infused oils and extracts, so I have some things that, you know, would be used for those kinds of products. And you can see like my little ranch mix down here that I have, as well as some like extra vinegar, apple cider vinegar, and then the rest of my the rest of my flours and such down there. So I have like specialty flours, like high gluten flour for like bagels, pastry flour, all that good stuff, and then we just keep our like juices and drinks and any extra pantry stuff. Now, of course, there are things in the freezer. Some of these things just need to be cleaned out and thrown out. Others, they are here, you know, getting used frequently and need to be just continuously used, and then there are some that do need to be used up. I'm not going to go in detail into this because this is kind of like a hot mess, but these are things that we'll be working through, and I will be actually doing some of my meal planning around some of these things that we have open and in the refrigerator so that we can clear out space. So that is everything that is in my pantry, my freezers, my cabinets. I don't think I've left anything out. Oh, you know what? I actually have. I have a storage bin over here that has dried beans, bulk like cornmeal, and some like additional like powdered sugar, brown sugars, all that good stuff. And then I have some things in the corner like macaroni, and you guys can see macaroni, rice, extra flour, those kinds of things. So we have quite a bit of stuff to use up. I think if there's any one person right now that needs to do this pantry challenge, it is me. Because we have way too much stuff here for 2 people, and you know, I'm realistic that I know there's no way we're going to get through all of this stuff before the end of February. So I may very well go ahead and just continue this throughout to really get the food, like the extras, especially things that are just in the way, off the floor and that kind of stuff. So I hope that you guys enjoyed a look inside like my pantry. Again, like I said, this is somewhat for accountability, but you know, we all can use a little encouragement sometimes, and that's part of why I'm doing this challenge, aside from just sheer needing to. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you will tune into those videos, although they are not necessarily gardening videos, but they are videos in preparation for our 2023 garden season to make space for the things that we are excited about growing. I appreciate you for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.